Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Jan Michael here. In a not normal environment, I don't actually have the access to the recording site right now. So I'm recording here for a kind of mini angry rant video on the Five Bloods. This one's gonna be really roughly edited. So what else is new? Oh, and I am taking care of my daughter right now, so prepare for her to interrupt and make noises in the background, but hopefully this will be a quick video, so it won't be too bad. So The Five Bloods just came out on Netflix, and if you saw my Oscar hopefuls for May of 2020, it was on my list for hopefuls of Best Picture. I was hoping it'd get an Oscar nomination, and looking at the reviews, yeah, that looks like it's gonna happen. It's just too bad I didn't end up liking the movie. And I know I'm in the minority. Everybody's loving this film, but everyone's calling it like perfect, like a masterpiece and all that stuff. And I know with the way the world's kind of going right now, it's the perfect time for the movie. I love film. I love movies. And so when I see problems being ignored or problems that I think are present, I just can't let it go. So prepare for this angry rant and spoilers. First things first, I think the first half of this film is a hot mess, as the young ones say. I think it's really roughly edited. I think it's very jarring at points. I do like the history lesson, the African American lives that maybe you did not know about, and it shows a lot of the brutality of war. But for me, it was more than just that. They introduced these characters, and I think they do a really bad job of introducing them. I don't think they make them very memorable or impactful upon a first meeting, and two of them are just outright like underutilized. They do focus on two of the Five Bloods, and that's mostly because they are the kind of main characters of the film, although one I think is just very underwhelming. They introduce him, they show him that he slept with a prostitute while still in the war, and he's meeting his daughter for the very first time. It was supposed to be a very impactful moment, and the only thing I could think of was, I don't know who these characters are, so this doesn't really mean anything to me. And I kept hoping they do a flashback of how the war, hit him and he was lonely or something like that, so he slept with this woman and building the relationship, and they just never do. The other character, played by Delroy Lindo, steals the show. He's freaking amazing. Everybody's talking about him, and I agree. He's not perfect. There are a couple of really awkward moments, and honestly, I think it has to do with the directing, strangely enough. I think there's a lot of times where it's not just him, there's other characters that will deliver a line, and then they kind of just stand around looking unsure of what to do next. Almost as if Spike said, hey, free reign, kind of, rant, do whatever you will. And then after they did so, they're like, well, what do I do now? So I think that's a big problem with it. But yeah, this Delroy, great. He's this emotional character. He's basically the main character of the film, though he does share it pretty good with other people. He's definitely going to get a supporting actor nomination. I doubt they're going to go for leading, right? Delroy's son also, in the movie, of course, joins him, and he actually gets more character development than the other two of the Five Bloods. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, it would have been great to know more about these other characters. But by the time they get into the forest to hunt down the gold, which is, I think, about the halfway point of the film, it definitely starts to pick up a bit more. The intrigue, the mystery kind of starts setting in. Although it's very obvious where the film's gonna go. At one point, they introduce these people that sweep for mines in the jungle, and I'm like, oh, all right, so somebody's gonna blow up. And oh my god, they make it so obvious. One of the characters stands up, and his line is like, I'm done making you people love yourself. And I'm like, when the fuck did you do that? And he started backing up so obviously, and my friend and I who were watching the film were like, all right, when's he gonna explode? And then when he does, I'm just like, okay, but you didn't really talk about this character that much. You didn't really show us anything about him that makes me sad at his passing. And they probably did that because he was gonna be the first one to die. The characters that die, I should just say, you don't really know that much about him with the exception of Delroy. And so a lot of their deaths are just not impactful at all. The way they find the gold is also very... It's very Hollywood. You know, they're searching, they're walking through the forest, and then the son character has to go take a shit, and sure enough, where he goes and he starts digging a shithole, there's a gold bar. And I'm like, did you set anything up? Did you say, well, this is the area that the plane supposedly was at? I don't think they did, and he just kind of went and found a piece of the gold, and then it was supposed to have been lost because of a landslide, but the gold was found more uphill, so I'm like, how the fuck does that happen? The oddest thing to me is that the bad guy is like a Frenchman. And, you know, especially with how the film was talking about how, you know, these men are not accepted in America. They're treated terribly, and they're not accepted in this country, obviously, because of the war and everything that occurred. There just doesn't feel like a place for them. And so, why a Frenchman? Like, maybe there's some commentary there that I'm missing. I thought it'd been greater if it was an American that double-crossed them. Like, oh, you know, typical, you know, we're used to this thing. Or if it was one of the local residents that was the true antagonist. But, no, it's just a Frenchman. Alright, so no, now for the really infuriating part that gets my blood boiling. They do little flashbacks. I mean, really little flashbacks of their time in the war, and them kind of interacting with their commander, who's played by Chadwick Boseman, who, by the way, I'm now convinced is not that great of an actor. Yeah, fight me on that. And it's only in the film for like 5 minutes, and it's like not enough to make an impact. And it sucks because all these characters always talk about, oh my god, this guy, you know, he pulled us together. He you know, for one of the characters, he was basically a religion to him, and I didn't get that. They didn't really do that in any of the flashbacks. At one point in the war, they hear that Martin Luther King Jr. died, and you know the Bloods are ready to like rampage, and he calms them down, and he says, well, you're gonna have to kill me first. And I'm like, okay, what have I learned about you that makes me not want them to do that? And it's like there is no interaction. They don't have those scenes where they each individually interact with him and they come to the realization that, oh my god, this person is on another level. I never got that. And then when you come to his death, which is, by the way, is so obvious what's going to happen, and it's done in such a stupid way. I mean, not that the fact that it was an accident was a bad idea, because it is, you know, that is traumatizing. You don't mean to kill somebody. But, good God, it didn't have the impact. And a lot of it is because you didn't spend enough time with this character, and it was just so infuriating. And what really pissed me off on top of it is that all the actors played themselves in the war as well. Again, maybe some commentary that I'm missing there, but it's so distracting when these old men are like interacting with this young guy, and they basically look the same. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I couldn't get past it. I couldn't get past that. Maybe I had too high of expectations for it, but I had to get this off my chest. I'm like, no, these are problems with the movie. You need to acknowledge them. So, you know, I like some of the commentary in it. I really wish it had a stronger payoff. Delroy, best thing about the movie, definitely needs to get nominated. And he's definitely going to be in my my Oscar hopefuls for June. This is a little spoiler for you guys. Yeah, that's pretty much what I thought. I probably have more things to say, but I don't want this video to be excruciatingly long, especially with me holding the camera. I'm sure it's making a lot of you sick. So treat this as a podcast. That's all I got for you guys. This isn't going to replace the video for this week. I definitely still have something coming out on Friday. She's joining me for this review. Say bye-bye. Yeah, there it is. Come on. Now tell them to subscribe. Do it.